Hello, guys. I wanted to talk with you tonight about Advantes Media, or Advance Media, which is this company that or a research group, and they came up with this interactive, what they call their interactive media bias chart. Now, these media bias charts have become more common lately. I took a course in Introduction to Media. I think it would have been about a year ago, or a little bit more. Anyway, so these charts have been becoming more and more popular, and they show they show a widespread of the different news organizations out there. They usually cover a good 50 or so that I've seen. Of course, they've got the big ones, and they've got the small ones. And what's just what I wanted to discuss a little bit is the topic of how dependable these kind of charts are, and what kind of narrative is it spinning, or is any organization spinning, and by how they place these news organizations on a graph, because it does make a difference. Because in the case of this Advance Media, there's seems to be a pretty strong bias. They seem to prefer unbiased news, to the extent that unbiased is a form of reliability. Being unbiased is almost synonymous with being reliable and being credible. And I think that notion is deeply flawed, but it fits into a conventional framework of the idea that the dividing line is between you've got left wing and you've got right wing, and then you've got like established news and established being reliable and unbiased versus unreliable. So you've got the axis of different biases, and then you got the axis of different levels of reliability. So unreliable versus reliable, left versus right. And when you look at this graph, you'll notice it makes a very clear triangle, where the and they all seem to, and all of these media organizations follow a line somewhere along this triangle. It's really not even a complete triangle. It really is just these 2 points coming together, where the top of the triangle is the most reliable and unbiased news sources, while the bottom corners, my elbows, would be the biased and unreliable news sources. So you've got like Reuters and the Weather Channel and the Associated Press at the very pinnacle of news as far as unbiased and reliable. And then they slope down from there. To no extent is there any, there's nothing that shows you don't see left or right wing media really reaching the reliability level. It's not evenly plotted. Again, there's a quick slope when you go left-leaning, when you go from the neutral, unbiased, what you'd call unbiased, they slant left and they slant right. And when you slant left, you quickly go downhill from reliable to unreliable, and when you slant right, you quickly go from downhill from reliable to unreliable. So I think that's flawed because I think that the concept of being the idea that you're unreliable if you have a bias, I think is not fair. And if anything, organizations that maintain the status quo and don't push boundaries on either side, that's a bias of its own. It's a bias towards the status quo. Whatever has been will continue to be, and we're not going to push you on. We're not going to push the narrative any sort of direction. We're not going to humanize the situation, and I think that's pretty flawed. So there's the bias against biased media, but I think biased media can be where some of the most truth can be found, because I know that there just needs to be options outside of those. I mean, to say that the more left wing you go, the more unreliable you get, or the more right wing you go, the more unreliable you get. I think that's unfair, and also because the political ideology, how it's mapped out is pretty flawed. For instance, there are a lot of issues that unite people on the far right and the far left. You've got you have people who hold a lot of liberal, progressive values, who are economically aligned with the Roosevelts, and but also are strong interventionists, which Roosevelt would kind of be an example of that. You've got you can have people who are pretty pro-war, but also very in favor of social justice and civil rights issues, and very pro-immigration and things like that. You can have people on the left who you might be very ideologically liberal in general. You might support the Green New Deal and Medicare for all, but in the end, you might have right-wing views on immigration or climate change. There's a variety of overlap. Like the idea that left and right they separate further and further, and the more right-wing you are, the further you are from the left. I mean, I don't think that they separate so much like this, as I think eventually they wrap back around to being to almost being a complete circle, because at the end of the day, I think some of the most hardcore lefties and the most hardcore righties are particularly low income and low education. To find yourself so far in one direction or the other. Now, the media seems to have a goal of dividing people on not on economic lines, but on political lines, when the real dividing line has and always will be a class division. It's a division of it's elitist versus the common man. That's more of what you're seeing, because right wing and left wing people don't really. The difference isn't as big as you think. When it comes to economic issues, I think economics can be like people on things like minimum wage increase are popular on both sides. Things like dealing with climate change are popular on both sides. There are issues that are just popular across the board, but are positioned as a left issue or a right issue. So when it comes to this Advance Media and their chart and the general scope of these charts, they're pretty limited to the extent that they place so much emphasis on they place strong favorability towards unbiased news sources, which again I think to quote Dante's Inferno, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in times of great moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. I'll leave you guys with that for now. Thank you.